So I wanted to tell the story of the first time I heard the Lord's voice. Probably around 18 years ago. My little brother, was deployed to Iraq. I guess this was around 2003. He was deployed to Iraq fresh out of Marine boot camp. And I was minding my own business, and all of a sudden, I just felt this constant sinking feeling that he was going to die. And I've never been the kind of person who gets preoccupied about things that don't really matter. I don't really make up things to get worried about. But it was this sort of just a heavy impression. And I was worried enough about this that I felt compelled to pray about it. And I had a pretty busy life at the time, I guess. For a single person without kids, it was about as busy as you could be, because I had a lot of important things to do. But every night before I went to bed, I'd pray. And I'd kneel down and I'd pray until I absolutely couldn't stay awake anymore. And so I'd pray for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. And I did this every single night. And this went on for about 30 days because I just couldn't shake this feeling. And every night I prayed, and I'd say things like, God, you've given me the gift of knowing you, but my brother hasn't had that opportunity. And if there's anything we can do to change places, I want to do that, because he hasn't felt this relationship with you that I have. He hasn't had the chance. And so I'd plead with God for hours every night until I just didn't have any capability to stay awake. And then I'd go to bed. So one night I was praying and I heard a voice. It was a very familiar voice, but I'd never heard it before. And the voice said, "Stop praying. Everything's going to be okay." And in that moment, all the concern that I had for my brother just evaporated. And I felt absolute peace about it. And I didn't know, I had no idea what was going to happen to my brother. I mean, for all I knew, he's going to still die. But I knew that whatever happened, I knew that it was God's will, and it filled me with peace. And that's two separate things. So a couple weeks later, I got a chance to talk to my brother, because obviously, that wasn't an easy thing to do around 2003 in Iraq. And this is the first time I'd heard anything from him. We didn't have letters, we didn't have any contact. At least I didn't. And he said, "Rob." So my brother did not believe in God at the time. He said, "I need to tell you a story." So we were clearing this building, and he said he was the first one out, and he was jogging towards a place where he had cover, because he had, well, anyway, the details aside, he had a saw, so he could lay down more suppressive fire. He was the first one out, and he was kind of jogging to where he needed to go to be able to protect everyone else as they were coming out of the building. And as he was coming out, he felt this hand on him that just shoved him down hard. It shoved him down so hard that he broke his foot. And as he was going down, a shot fired off. And after all this, he saw it was right where his head was. And a firefight erupted, and it lasted a long time. And some people died. But he didn't. And he said, "Rob, I don't believe in all this stuff, but I know that there's an angel there. And I know that this happened because you were praying for me." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. You're right." Yesterday, that brother his wife had his first child. And I guess why I'm telling you all of this, there are a couple of reasons. First off, if you want more of God's power in your life, and you want to see miracles, you have to go to the place that they're found. And God is impartial. He operates with the same rules for all people. So no one ever had a miracle laying on their couch. No one ever had a miracle when they were just kind of iffy on God, and then all of a sudden when they really need him, they reach out to him. Everything you do matters. And if you want to find God's power, you have to live in God's character all the time. And the more you do that, the more these things are going to happen. That was a long time ago, and I have seen a lot of God's hand in people's lives. I've seen a lot of things. I don't want to get into them right now. But each of us has the capacity to be used by God to make a huge difference in this world. The fingerprints of those that love God can't be found out. What I mean by that is the ways that God wants to use you in this world are so numerous that you couldn't count them if you lived up to that. If you went to where he wants you to be and you did what he wants you to do, those things would be so numerous, they'd spark off all these chains of light that would ripple through the rest of the world and through time so that you couldn't even trace them. Only God could trace them back. And so everything in my brother's life could have ended right then if I hadn't done what God wanted me to do so that he could do what he wanted to do. So I encourage you to live according to the best that you know, because that's the path where these things happen. That's the path where these things spark off and ripple out. And you can be, and God wants you to be, an instrument in his hands to work miracles. And sometimes they're big deal miracles, and sometimes they don't seem like a big deal, but they are. Because everything matters. Everything feeds into everything else. In this world, everything's touching something else. And you can't do anything without affecting everything. And that's true. So I encourage you to think about that and go to the place where miracles are found, because the world needs it. And it's the only way that God... It's the only way that things can be here as they are in heaven is through the instrumentality of his children here. So I encourage you to figure those things out and do more of it in your life more consistently.